It's the amazing Rico Brogna podcast with your host, Evan Roberts.
Yes! Yes! Play! Right? Win over and over again. The New York Mets have stunned us. They win a game that felt like a playoff game. They win a game that caused me great stomach pain. A game that caused me to lose my voice. A shocking victory at Yankee Stadium as Jake Diekman. I can't believe I'm going to say what I'm about to say. Jake Diekman with balls of stone as he bails out a very timid Carlos Mendoza, who did not want to use Edwin Diaz 3 out of 4 days, didn't want to use him after throwing a million pitches last night, and somehow, some way, and I admit, I didn't think there was any chance he would do it, but Jake Diekman survives the vaunted top, thank you, sir, vaunted top of the Yankee order, and the New York Mets survive at Yankee Stadium. I am driving home. I had a very long walk out of Yankee Stadium, shared many a high five with Met fans, and then I had to walk up that hill. For those that have driven to Yankee Stadium, I parked on Anderson and 165th. Anderson is that giant hill near Jerome, which I got to tell you, not really near Jerome. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, maybe it is near Jerome. Yeah, it's that giant hill that feels like you're in San Francisco. So I'm hiking up the hill, but I hiked up that hill as a conquering hero because we are all conquering heroes. Now, I get it. You can make fun of me tomorrow. It's one game. It's the Yankees. They've played like crap. This shouldn't be our World Series. It's not that it's beating the Yankees and it's our World Series. It was that this was one of those games where, do not lie, unless you would just have this incredible positivity that very few of us have. Did you ever think the New York Mets were winning this game? When you saw Jake Diekman jog out of that bullpen, protecting a one-run lead against the Yankee order, did you think they were going to win? When Harrison Bader decides to try to steal third and gets caught by a country mile, did you think they were going to win this game? When Jeff McNeil, and I know it's tough to kill Jeff, his defense has been great. He had another home run. When Jeff McNeil has his ass so far up his head, I think I got that backwards, his head so far up his ass, where he is standing on second base on what should have been a double by Tyrone Taylor, I ask you again, did you think the New York Mets were going to win this game? When the Mets missed out on so many scoring opportunities, did you think the Mets were going to win this game? When Dednell Nunez spoiled a sparkling defensive play by Pete Alonso, you haters out there, that was a brilliant defensive play, and the flip was fine. Dednell couldn't hold on to it. I ask you again, did you think the Mets were going to win this game? I didn't. And so to pull it out of their ass this way at Yankee Stadium was shocking. Now, let's start at the end, because I think this would have been a great debate if Aaron Judge hit the 2-run home run that we all thought he was going to hit. When Juan Soto draws a 4-pitch walk, what am I getting on here? Is this the Major Deegan, I guess? Yeah, leaving Yankee Stadium is a little peculiar. You know what's funny, though? Once you get to your car at Yankee Stadium, especially when you park on the street, at least where I park, you can get on the highway very quickly. And where I live in Westchester, it is shockingly an easier ride. The only thing that's more difficult is that freaking trek I just made up a giant San Francisco hill. But whatever, I ain't complaining. I got to sing Frank Sinatra on the way out. That always makes me smile. But Carlos Mendoza was faced with a predicament. Let's all have a nice, warm, calm conversation about said predicament. The New York Mets treated Juan Soto like Barry Bonds. I don't have a problem with that, especially in the situations where they didn't let Aaron Judge beat him. They weren't doing it to lead off innings. They were doing it sometimes with 2 outs and nobody on. But in the 9th inning, with a 1-run lead and Juan Soto on first base, and knowing Diekman is obviously much better against left-handers, and you have Ben Rice on deck, do you walk Aaron Judge in the most unorthodox walk you could find and put the tying run on second base and the winning run on first base? Now, I'm going to give you my answer on this. Because it's Jake Diekman, and I was so wrong about the balls of stone that Jake Diekman showed, I would have walked him. Obviously, if this is Edwin Diaz pitching the 9th inning, I'm not walking him. If this is Dednell Nunez pitching the 9th inning, again, I'm not walking him. But because of Diekman, who I do not trust, and I didn't trust to be necessarily careful with Aaron Judge, I admit, and I'm glad I was wrong. Trust me, being right, it's only fun when you're happy. It ain't fun when you're miserable. And I was wrong all day today. I thought the Mets were going to get their ass kicked. I thought Quintana was going to get bombed. I thought we were going to hear the excuses about the arrival at 5 a.m. I take my L, and I take my L proudly. But in that moment, I did not want Jake Diekman facing Aaron Judge. And as unorthodox as it is, as much as the numbers will tell you how could you walk and put the tying run on second and the winning run on first base, he's Aaron Judge, who the Mets have been very careful with through these 3 games they now have played against them. So I didn't agree with it, but Jake Diekman showed stones. And he strikes out Aaron Judge, and I think that's where I lost my voice. There was a lot of screaming tonight. I think a part of that is being on the road. A part of that is dealing with Yankee fans. A part of that is the atmosphere of the game, the energy of the game. Like I always say about the Subway Series, I'll downplay it all day because I believe it. But once you're in it, once you're in that stadium, it feels different. And I've never denied that. So call me a hypocrite at your own peril. Boy, that guy's going fast. Anyhow, Jake Diekman somehow stunningly strikes out Aaron Judge, gets Ben Rice to hit a hard one to Jeff McNeil, who makes a clean play. And look, they weren't perfect. They were not perfect. They issued a lot of walks, even though some of them were sort of intentional to Judge. They missed out on a lot of scoring opportunities, no question. You had the bad base running by Jeff McNeil, but they win a game, and they win a game they needed to get. Getting a split against the Yankees, and look, we'll worry about tomorrow, but I do think they're probably going to lose tomorrow. That's okay. I can continue to be negative, but to get this win was so important. Now, let's talk about Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil right now is going through an offensive renaissance, and what is so unique about what McNeil is doing, I don't want to compare it to Daniel Murphy in the playoffs because that was the playoffs. You become a legend in the playoffs. You don't necessarily become a legend because you had a bunch of home runs against the Marlins and the Yankees in late. But what is so unique about what Jeff McNeil is doing, I got to take my hat off, I'm sweating like a pig, is that this power has never really been a part of his game. You know, when Jeff won the batting a few years ago, he's not one to hit how many home runs? Was it 1, 2, 3, 4 home runs, essentially, in the last 3 games, if I'm doing my math correctly, or 4 home runs in the last 5 games, whatever it is. It is so unique what Jeff is doing. Now, I ask you this question because we have to be honest with each other on the Rico. And it is okay to flip-flop. It is okay to change your mind. It's okay, as long as you own it. A few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, every Met fan, myself included, said, boy, as soon as Jeff gets hot, you got to trade his raccoon ass. Not raccoon, squirrel. He's squirrel ass. And there were some of you who said DFA him, which I always thought was lunacy. Now that Jeff McNeil is red hot, now that Jeff McNeil has hit, again, 4 home runs in 5 games, and he has literally, I mean, you could argue the Mets don't win these 3 games out of the break without Jeff McNeil. That's how valuable he's been to start the second half of the year. Are you guys still willing to say what I said a month ago, which is no matter what Jeff McNeil does, you got to trade his ass? I'm going to assume most Met fans have flip-flopped on that, and that's okay. Now, I'm going to tell you why I have flip-flopped. And the main reason I have flip-flopped on this is not necessarily because he's hot, but because they need him. Right now, with Starling Marte not coming back, at least not yet, and who knows if Jose Iglesias is going to keep this up. He's been great. He deserves to play every day. I wish he was in the lineup today. He wasn't. They really can't afford to lose the versatility of Jeff McNeil. So during the offseason, I will probably stand by what I said a month ago, which is no matter how well he plays in the second half, they probably should look to move on from him. You can't trust him. But in this moment, with the Mets in a wild card spot, with them kind of needing him to play every day, let's be honest. No matter how much you turned on him, when you look at your options, he's still one of the best options to play every day. When Marte comes back, fine. It's maybe a little bit different of a discussion. So I think a part of why I have flip-flopped on this is they just need him. Doesn't mean in November you don't treat it differently, but in this moment, they need Jeff McNeil. And to Jeff McNeil's credit, he has been awesome here in the second half of the season. as the Mets have won 3 and they have lost 2. Now, let's get to this bullpen. Adam Ottavino continues to suck. I think that Mendy was in a very tough spot today. I think taking Quintana out when he did was the right call. His pitch count was in the 90s. Though, let me pause right there on the pitch count. And let me criticize something that Carlos Mendoza did. I just did something where I said, hey, Quintana's pitch count was high. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to guess it was about 94. I think that was the number I saw. If the Mets didn't dilly-dally with Aaron Judge, if they literally stuck the 4 fingers up the 3 times they walked him, and remember, Quintana threw 14 pitches, 12 of them were balls. They had no interest in facing Aaron Judge, rightfully so. I think most of us would agree with that. But if you take those 14 pitches away, all of a sudden, Jose Quintana's pitch count is a 94. It's 80, if my math is correct. So I know all pitch counts are not created equal, but he still had to throw 14 pitches that were complete wastes. Why? Let me ask you, why are you even wasting that? In this world in which pitch counts are so important, in this world in which there is still exertion on those 14 pitches he threw, it's not like he threw lollipops. It's not like they were intentional walks like the old days where you're going to count that 65-mile-per-hour lob as a pitch. He threw 14 pitches, and they were complete, utter wastes. Why? That's a fair question, because maybe if his pitch count is 78 or 80, my God, people go so freaking fast. Scares the crap out of me. I think I go fast. Like, I get speeding tickets a lot. I go above the speed limit, but some of these schmucks, man, they go 90. They don't give a crap. But I would have preferred Mendy save the pitch count on Jose Quintana and not exactly make him throw that waste of 14 pitches. But as far as Quintana's concerned, they got 5 innings out of him. He showed poise. He makes the one mistake to Gleyber Torres. He gets through his 5 innings. And now you need to find a way with a very tiny 2-run lead. You got to find a way to get 12 outs. Look, I don't blame him for going to Ottavino because you only have so many options. I like that he pulled him after the 3-batter minimum. He threw Alex Young, who obviously was just recalled because of the Christian Scott injury, right into it, and he was able to make big pitches and get through it. We saw a really good inning out of Dednell Nunez. He made up for the fact that he committed an error. He made up for the fact that he threw a wild pitch. And when you think about it, Dednell Nunez, again, showed poise and continues to be their most reliable reliever. I guess you could argue Edwin Diaz is the closer, but in the non-Diaz kind of choices, he is their best reliever. And I love that Mendy used him in the 7th inning because that's when the Yankees' best hitters were coming up. So let him face Juan Soto and not really Aaron Judge. Phil Maton kind of teased us a little bit, gets the first 2 guys out, gives us a little agita, but Maton did a pretty good job. He's slowly moving, very slowly, into the circle of trust. Now, as far as Diaz is concerned, I don't know what they said on the broadcast, but sitting there, I thought that there was a possibility he was going to be available. I did. And I'll tell you my reasons. Yes, he threw a lot of pitches the night before. And yes, he threw on Saturday. So you're talking about 2 out of 3 days. But I thought, knowing Cole is going tomorrow, knowing, okay, I'll pitch him today, try to get this victory because I'm in a spot to win. And then I'll sit him the next 2 days. I won't pitch him on Wednesday against the Yankees or Thursday against Atlanta. I thought there was a small possibility Edwin was going to be available. I wonder if Mendy also plays the mental game and says to himself, you know what? I'm not going to get the best of Edwin Diaz. It's the top of the order against the Yankees. God forbid he blows this game. That could affect him mentally. That could be something that puts Diaz back into the tailspin he was a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, if Jake Diekman blows the game, you know what? I take the bullet as the manager. I went to this crappy reliever. It is what it is. So I do wonder, I'm not sure Mendy would ever admit that, but I do wonder how much of that plays a part. Boy, I am straining to talk, man. And the reason I'm straining to talk is because when you're in a building that is filled with, I'll be honest, I think it was 40% Met fans. I don't know how it sounded on TV. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But in the building, it sounded like it was a little bit less than half representing the New York Met fan base.
I'll tell you this much. It looked like there was enough Met fans in the crowd, which was awesome enough. I mean, sound-wise, I was going back and forth with some other things, so had it in the background type of thing. But I just want to say one thing about McNeil that you were hitting on, man. You know, I'm flip-flopping as far as trading him right now at the deadline, but not because of you saying that we need him. Yes, of course we need him. If no one else is hitting, of course we need him right now. But I really do invest in the fact that they figured out that he needed to adjust how he was swinging the bat and what he was doing pre-shift, and now what he's doing now after he realized that there's no more shift and he's just got to hit the ball, see the ball, hit the ball type of thing. I believe in that. You're right. We have to see what happens for the next 2 months of the season. If this is legitimate, he's always been an average hitter, above average hitter. So why should that change now? Why would that change out of nowhere? Because the defense changed.
So I don't have in front of me driving. I'm about to get on the hutch. Can't believe I'm like 15 minutes from home. But I think it was 2019. It was early in his career. Jeff McNeil had one of the most unique seasons you'll ever see. His first half was high batting average, low power, really good OPS. And his second half was lower batting average, higher power. I'm not even kidding you. The exact same OPS. And I always found that fascinating. I used to bring this up on the air a lot to Joe and say, which Jeff McNeil do you prefer? Their OPS is exactly the same. Do you want the guy with a high batting average or the guy with the lower batting average but the higher power? So his slug is a lot higher. So Jeff has had it in him, even if we've seen it in very small doses. And I think the thing I hold out hope for, even if I don't believe it, is could these adjustments you've talked about be something that's Daniel Murphy-like? You know, and I think that's always the thing we hold up and say, my God, Daniel Murphy didn't just have a hot streak in the playoffs. He literally turned into an MVP candidate. And I didn't see it coming, even after his great playoff run. Like, as disappointed as I was that the Mets didn't keep him, I never for a second thought that what he did in the playoffs was legitimate. I remember my dad even saying, come on, it's a hot streak. That's all it is. And look, I think more likely than not, all this is a hot streak. But you hold out hope that maybe whatever adjustments he's made could turn him into just a completely different player the way it was with Daniel Murphy. Look, here's the good news. They are not trading him at the deadline as much as maybe Met fans wanted them to. They are really probably not trading anybody at the deadline. Let's be honest. They're likely to make small purchases to improve this bullpen if they do anything. And I think they will do that. I'm not sure the level of bullpen help they're going to get. So they're not trading Jeff McNeil. It's more of a discussion that we've had here on the Rico, and a lot of Met fans have had. But he's going to play every day. And I think right now it is obvious, lefties or righties, it doesn't matter. Their best lineup is Jeff McNeil in right field and Jose Iglesias at second base. It's also probably their best defense. DJ Stewart, no gracias. Tyrone Taylor, no gracias. I know Tyrone got robbed by Jeff McNeil. By the way, that play, and I got to wrap this up soon because my voice is getting worse and it's painful to talk. So I apologize. But I stared at McNeil on that play. I'm not sure if they showed this on the replay, but he ends up like signaling, go back to Luis Torrens, who was about to pass him. So it actually could have been an even bigger disaster that inning. Obviously, the Mets got their one run on Lindor being hit by a pitch. They were very fortunate to get the one run to tie the game. But that sequence could have been an even bigger mess because there was a chance that Torrens was going to pass Jeff McNeil, and we were going to look at just a complete mess of an inning, a Timo Perezian kind of sequence in this game. But either way, what a win, a great victory, great showing by the Met fans today, invading Yankee Stadium. I don't know if I'd say taking over Yankee Stadium, but absolutely a great showing. My favorite part is that sitting next to Sean Morash, the guy in front of him was wearing an Aaron Rodgers jersey. So not only did Sean, as a Yankee fan, have to witness the Mets invade his ballpark and win, he had to stare at the back of Aaron Rodgers the entire game. And that was a great feeling. Now, I got to go rest my voice. We will be on the air 2 o'clock on the Fan on Wednesday afternoon. We will give you another Rico after Wednesday night's game. We do appreciate you downloading and listening. A very happy Play Frank Drive Home edition of Rico Brogna.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rico Brogna podcast. It's amazing, isn't it? Make sure you download it now to keep it on you at all times.